What I'm going to share with you today is a bit of a look into the future, and it's not the too distant future. It's something that's coming along. Not one company or organization in the world is going to be able to avoid it. This is how fundamental this next change is going to be. And it says the changing face of manufacturing again. And it is, because when we come back to MACH 18, a lot of this will be in place. A number of companies will have grabbed the nettle in that 2-year period. A number of companies would have taken the decision that it's not going to impact them. Unfortunately, it will. And it'll be something that's been driven by the prime manufacturers, the OEM product manufacturers around the world. So this is just to give you an insight of where we are in terms of trends for manufacturing, what's coming along, and what can be done about it. So if we look at this very simplistic view and start off in the top left-hand corner. In the top left-hand corner, we're looking at the mass production that we really recognize today, and looking at what we're trying to achieve through the best utilization of materials. So this is all coming under the ethos of lean, and everyone in the hall today will understand what lean's about. So making sure you take waste out of every possible system. But that's good. That's good at one level. In terms of the challenges that represents, though, is the major manufacturers in the world gear up for large production runs. Once they have those in place, they don't want to change. So mass production, absolutely key. You then come into the situation where everyone wants something different. The best way of describing how those demands are being fulfilled today is your mobile phone. Every single mobile phone of a type comes off the production line exactly the same. Within 5 minutes, you, or in my case, my daughter, has personalized that phone for me. So it's my phone. But it came from a mass production system. What we're going to see in manufacturing, all manufacturing, is something akin to that. We're going to be in a position where materials and material availability around the world is going to become very scarce and very critical that we protect them as much as possible. You know, if you look at, for example, a BMW today, 98% of those vehicles are recyclable. 98%. So how do you track the whole life of that product from manufacture, not just at BMW, but right the way through the supply chain, then on into surface, and then post-service and recovery? This is what you'll start hearing referred to as Industry 4.0, or the 4th generation of manufacturing. It is all about digitization. Sounds very scary, but hopefully by the end of this you'll get a sense of where it's going and what's been done to make it digestible for everyone. So if we look across, going from the top left to the top right, we've all got greater expectations. We'll come back to the phone analogy, we want the next phone and we want it quickly. We don't want the likes of Apple or Samsung to be hanging around with their products and stopping us from getting that next generation that's going to be even better. So there's actually creative destruction in the market demand. We're taking decisions to destroy product lines to replace them. We have to be able to make sure that we don't lose information along that journey. And again, we come back to digitization. If we then start in that top left corner and then drop down, we're looking at more for less. And we're looking at new processes, new methodologies, new materials of the whole manufacturing system. How do we have a complete supply chain that is as agile as our demands for wanting a new type of phone every 2 years? That's the conundrum we face. We can't do that really across all industry with the processes that we have in place today. This is the part where we start really taking the digital age and getting it to work for us. If we then bring these both together and then start looking at what the future starts looking like, this is now coming down the right-hand side, and we start looking at the digital twin. So if you can very simplistically think of it as any products that you see in the halls today, there's the physical part, there's also a digital twin of it. What's in that digital twin depends where you sit in the value chain. If you're the end consumer of that part, then you're going to want to know that all the dimensions are correct. You're going to want to know if it's a certifiable part, that all the certification information is correct. You're going to want to have it referenced, key characteristics, so that you know when you receive that part into your manufacturing system, it will fit first time. You almost don't need inward inspection because that's already done. Step one pace in the opposite direction and look at the suppliers to those parts. What's the information they need to provide? What's the information that needs to be provided from a material supplier? Characteristics of material, batch properties. All of this information can sit alongside the physical product for its life. What that means is that when you come to the end of life, you have all the data you need to recover as much of that as you can and return it back into the supply chain. So the drivers that we're seeing are really this theme of manufacturing is changing. The latest drivers, which I touched on, is the fourth industrial revolution, as we call it in the UK, Industry 4.0 as it's been coined in Germany. And make no bones about it, it is coming, and it's something that's going to affect every single person that's in this show, either exhibiting or visiting today. You'll also hear it referred to as the Internet of Things. I mean, that for me starts getting really scary, and I do reach for my daughter now for assistance. But very important that the Internet has got a huge place and a huge role to play in our futures. More so on the manufacturing side than just social media, gaming, ordering, looking at the news, all of those very interesting stuff. But into our world, it's going to have a big impact. Big data. One thing coming from an aerospace background I know is we love data. If it can be measured, we're going to measure it. We're going to store that data. We don't know what we're going to need it for, but it's nice to know it's there just in case we do need it at some time in the future. That, in some respects, is going to pay dividends because of that database and that approach, because with the capability we have with the cloud, and hands up anyone who's ever seen a cloud. And where's the cloud? Right answer. Okay, the cloud that we refer to is either for us is either in Iceland or Norway. And all it is like a big computer storage. Why is it in Iceland and Norway? Geothermal electricity and power, and it's bloody cold outside, so you can actually dissipate the heat. So that's the cloud. So the cloud is just a storage offline. Somewhere where all of our data is ending up. All your photographs, which are personal to you, are in the cloud. Norway, Iceland. So having all this data is great on one respect, but we need to know what to do about it. Where does it become important? Well, it becomes important if you take a Boeing or an Airbus. Each of those organizations, for their manufacturing output, each of them are bringing together 2.5 trillion parts in a year. 2.5 trillion parts. Now, each of those is coming into their manufacturing systems. It's been measured, where necessary, hopefully in most places, it's been certified fit for purpose, particularly on the safety critical, and it's got a history behind it. So we've got 2.5 trillion parts, all of which have got a database that goes alongside them. That's the digital twin. What Industry 4.0 is all about, and the fourth industrial revolution, is saying, with that information, what else can we do with it? So if we set ourselves up and look at the central part of our companies, what it means is that the first question is, well, does it impact me? Don't I just keep supplying the way I've been doing before? Well, the answer is you could, but you might find that your existence is quite short-lived, because the whole methodology of ordering, of quality systems, of the sharing of drawings, everything will be coming through the digitization route. So you'll have more access to the digital twin earlier than you ever had before. It should make life a lot easier for you when you're developing and trying to cost out new product. It will help your supply chain. Your supply chain will know really a cascade of the requirements that are on you, what they need to deliver on. It then also feeds up, obviously, to the customers, whichever industry they're in, whether it's oil and gas, automotive, aerospace. You'll be providing a part and the digital representation, which is not just description of the dimensions of the part, everything else against it as well. The level of information that's required from the top of the food chain all the way down to, say, the material provider differs. The danger we have is if we walk forward into this brave new world with our eyes closed, we're going to have some bad surprises. And those bad surprises could be that we can't talk to our customer anymore. We can't provide that information they need to make their decisions on sourcing, on component design, and what to do at end of life. More importantly, our customers can't provide us real-time data on schedules, new products that are coming through, all the information that we find most valuable and sometimes is really hard to get out of a prime. So the challenges are fairly obvious, really. We've got a lot in industry worldwide. There's a lot of legacy equipment. This isn't a pitch to say that you open up your checkbook and you go running out and start ordering all the latest and greatest equipment. It's not about that. What it's about is finding a way of making this digital twin digestible for everyone. As I said earlier, the needs and requirements are different depending on where you sit in the supply chain. If we then start looking at how we handle that data, that becomes a very again, it becomes the next critical part. And to do that, there's got to be some sort of standards established. This is going to be really difficult because every large business in the world has got an equally large or exponentially larger ego. They all want you to have their system. If you buy an Apple product, and I've got loads of them, they want you to buy their adapters. They want you to buy everything that's Apple. And they'll link it all for you, and you think, God, this is really great. What they're doing is they're actually grooming your behavior so that you are bought into this whole system. You have bought a complete system. That's kind of where the rest of the world, the rest of the manufacturing world's going as well. But if you're sat in the supply chain and you're saying, okay, which system do I buy? This system, whatever it becomes, it has to be open architecture. It has to be the Android. It has to be something that it doesn't matter which computer you take up. It doesn't matter which mobile phone you've got. You can still connect in and use those as tools for your business. I mentioned phones, and I've used this analogy a couple of times because just having a chat before I started, we could be in a position in 2 years' time that you actually have, an SME may have the only requirement to be part of this Industry 4.0, fourth industrial revolution. It could be as simple as just having an app. We could be very smart and actually take what's around us and actually use the technologies, this information technology, to a point where it's our business on our phone. And it's got direct linking with our customers. It's got all our supply requirements, detailed specs, could come onto your phone. Nothing at all to prevent it. You're not storing on the phone, that's in the cloud. And where's the cloud? Norway, Iceland. So long as Norway and Iceland keep working, we're fine. Then we come on to the next conundrum, which is security. Well, security actually is pretty good. You know, for everything, all the scare stories you see in the press, security is pretty good. The type of architecture that we describe, because you'll be using your own devices, and there are many different types you can use, it's very hard for a hacker to pick out one and then infect everything in the community. So it has to be an open architecture. It's all very well and good, all the motor manufacturers saying you must have our particular system. That won't work. You can't have, in aerospace, you can't have Boeing say you must have this and Airbus saying you must have something else. Because 60-70% of their supply chain is common. And that supply chain isn't going to double invest. So these are the challenges that are going to start being addressed over the next 2 years. And we're right at the start of it now. In support of that, there's the issue on skills. And skills become very important very quickly, because our children will get this faster than we can. We could all put our hands up that sat in here today and say, we are now officially old, because their capacity to grab new ideas and new technologies way outstrips ours. I mean, we were just left behind. So, but what we have to do is be able to provide the context. We provide the context of this future world, of where manufacturing actually does become part of the same community that's in gaming, that's in iPhones, it's in all of these Android products. And if we start looking at what this looks like on an interconnected diagram, we've got in the top left here, you've got to look at the sensors and the information sources that are coming off our manufacturing systems today. And a lot of that we're taking off, we're measuring, and then converting to something that's digital. In the future, that could be real time. That could be just direct download, continually streaming the information off the manufacturing systems. We're also then looking at what are the modes that we're going to carry that data in. PCs, probably very yesterday. Tablets, iPhones, or mobile devices, Android devices, bespoke handheld devices. It could be any one of those. All answers are correct. As industries, we have to fight to make sure that this, whatever the standards are that come out, they are based on a common open architecture. And that's industry globally, not just the UK. So then you come down to the next part of the benefit, which is saying, okay, then what does this then start giving us? It gives us historic data. It gives a reference point for everything we produced. We will know in advance of receiving parts into our manufacturing systems that the parts will fit. They will fit. They've been certified. It will be right first time. all of those things that we've been striving to achieve through lean processes over the last many decades now. Ultimately then, once this whole supply chain is interconnected, the products that come off the production line will be brought to market in a shorter time period, and they will hit the market with a greater level of quality and quality assurance. The manufacturing informatics. This slide is not really about the squiggles. It looks like something out of a biology lesson if you kind of turn your head on the side. But what it's about is just showing you all the different linkages that exist today. All of those linkages in the future will become part of this digital twin. And if you've got any questions on that, probably the first one I saw that was the one where I said, well, you know, what's edge processing? And see if I can just bring that down here. Oop. No, it doesn't allow me to do that. I'll show you that at the end if it comes up. Edge processing is about the world where we live, all these touch points that we're talking about. So what are the benefits? I mean, the benefits, I think, start becoming very clear as to why we're going down this route. Increased competitiveness through agility. Not just ourselves, but our whole supply chain will know what the next product's going to be at the same time. There won't be this hand-to-mouth existence of trying to find out data. It will be there. It'll be there, ready, willing, hopefully, and able to then enable businesses to start making strategic decisions. It will reduce risks, because this digital twin, everyone will be working off the same model. We won't be second guessing if there's been an update. It will be there. It will be live data. And then we come on to increased opportunities. Having that level of agility in our businesses, because it's open architecture, will enable a supplier to, say, Jaguar Land Rover, for example, also be a supplier to Airbus. Also be a supplier into the oil and gas industry. It goes on. Where they've got a capacity in a machine tool or a manufacturing process or capability, they will be able to see where their product offering could fit in. So that's really a canter through of the fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0. You'll hear both terminology used. There's more sessions on it, I believe, tomorrow. I would encourage you to, if you're here tomorrow, to take a look into those sessions. As I say, it is something that's going to hit all of us. It's one of those very interesting sides to development where if you choose to ignore it, it's going to happen anyway. So it's better to get involved now. With these changes comes the challenge and fear and wanting to know a bit more about the subject. We'll be hosting sorry, it's not showing the last slide. I'll have to talk this one through. We're going to be hosting a seminar probably in September. And what this is going to be looking at doing is explaining through, not just through lectures and talks, but examples of what Industry 4.0 means to a prime and their customers, the end users, us, all the way through the supply chain, and taking elements of that supply chain all the way through and demonstrating what this tool and these tool sets could look like in anger. So that, no? All right. So that's the end of the presentation. Open for any questions on the subject. Those that I can't answer, I will say come back and have a chat with us in September, and also attend some of the sessions that are on tomorrow. Sir.
Okay, thanks very much.
Hi.
My question is about skills. You mentioned that this is pretty much the way everything's going to go. Do you know what's been done in terms of equipping both post and undergraduates to ensure they've got the skills for tomorrow? So whether that's working with academia or professional institutions to ensure the courses they're doing now equip them for the future.
Yeah. It's a very good question, and our success as a nation is going to be very much dependent on it. Yes, courses are now starting to take this as a content to some of the curricula. Are they doing it fast enough? No, they're not. We see more traction coming through the apprentice route than we do through pure universities. So it's that interesting ecosystem that's in our education at the moment. We can do a lot more. As part of the AMRC, we have a training centre, and as of last intake, last month, went out to 420 apprentices, all sponsored by industry. Part of their course work will be on exactly this, understanding where it fits in, because it does impact everyone. Probably the last person that's going to actually understand it is the CEO of a company. And that's probably the right way for it to be. It's this generation coming through that we need to support. There's also continual development as well with our existing workforce, because this will be scary. So in short answer, yes, there's bits on that's going into the courses now. Is it enough? No, it's not. Any other questions? Who's booking a holiday to Iceland or Norway just to look at the cloud? Very unimpressive when you see them. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.